Hey, all you wonderful people. I want to do a quick video because yesterday I misspoke history, genetic history. I don't know why, but I just read a report that California has had the worst air it's had in decades for past like 87 days because of the heat and the pollution and the ozone, and they don't even measure for nanoparticles. Strontium, barium, aluminum, just saying. So I'm gonna blame it on that. Anyways, I was actually thinking about the topic right when I went to change it, and I saw Giovanna had made a comment on my post, so I want to clarify it. I don't know why I started over time thinking that Sephardic Jews were just Middle Eastern. The real story is that Ashkenazi Jews are from Europe. They were in Europe for a long time. There is some genetic difference, markable difference, and there is Semitic blood within both the Ashkenazi and Sephardic, and also the Jews that, you know, might be in the Middle East or wherever. But what I misspoke about mainly is the origins of the Sephardic Jews, kind of, and then the fact that the Ashkenazi Jews are said to have Semitic DNA in them. So after 1492, the last of the Moors were kicked out of Spain. They had ruled for basically 700 years. That's why a lot of the Spanish architecture follows the lines of the Muslim religion, like doesn't have statues or, you know, painted figures and very symmetrical shapes. When the Muslims were in Spain, they ruled fairly humanely, better than we did, and better than when we conquered, you know, in the Crusades, like under Richard the Lionheart, where we would, you know, rape, pillage, and enslave. So that's one thing. But the Sephardic Jews are actually considered to have come from the Iberian Peninsula. And Iberian Peninsula comes from what Rome used to call Iberia, which is that peninsula that makes Spain, Portugal, there's a Pyrenees Mountains, is that the mountain range? There's this Andalusia, Al-Andalus, no, that's the old Spanish name, or the Arabic name for Spain. Andorra. Small country right there separating France and Spain. Yeah, it's basically it. So Portugal and Spain. That's the Iberian Peninsula. So the Sephardic Jews lived there. So they lived around more Arabs for sure, because it was an Arab land for 700 years. And in 1492, along with the Muslims, they were kicked out. Besides the children that the Catholic Church, you know, would turn into good boys or whatever. Who knows what kind of horrible histories behind that, but they would take some of the boys from the Muslim families as they were sending them across to Morocco or wherever in Africa. So the Sephardic Jews ended up from Spain. They went down into Africa because they were kicked, or a lot of them. I'm pretty sure it's a majority of them went into Africa, but just whatever, Africa and Europe, and maybe that's how the Ashkenazi Jews got the Arab in them. I don't know, but and then from there, you know, over time they've migrated all around the world, including to Israel. So that's one thing. Another thing I could go into, maybe into more detail, is the deep state shadow government origins, most possible likely origins, related to the CFR, Council on Foreign Relations, CIA. They have business banking backgrounds. old banking families. That's what it seems like to me. Now, in all the books I used to read, they never talked about this, about banking connections. So that's all YouTube videos, but it's guys that know history. So I see that they do know real history. And then, you know, from there, I take their word into the other stuff that's not talked about at all in published books, basically, except for some exceptions. And those are the exceptions that really changed my perspective. And that's John Perkins, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and Secret History of American Empire, more or less. Might be paraphrasing the titles a little bit, or the title, especially the last one, but those two books talked about the IMF and World Bank and their sister organizations and what they did around the world. And since then, I've learned that, you know, same old banking families that are alleged to be behind things like the CFR, even the Masons, and a whole bunch of, and I don't know if that's true or not, and a whole bunch of other things are the people that created the World Bank, same people that created the Federal Reserve, same people that profited off of Napoleonic War, that probably caused the War of 1812 when the king outlawed Americans making currency to circulate in the Americas, and so we had to rent it from the king at interest. I mean, it makes sense, you know, we don't own the money, so loan us the money at interest and we'll pay you the interest back. But actually, as you know, some of our American ancestors, which I do have a wee little bit of, you know, like, I mean, back from the Revolution. Okay, I'll stop torturing people with that. But as something blew up, it's all over the road. As our ancestors found out, it was a Ponzi scheme. Can't pay it back. You know, can't pay your interest back with the money they lent you. If all you have is the money they lent you, you can never pay that plus the interest back. So there's always interest on it. It's the same thing the Federal Reserve does to our nation, enslaving the whole nation, making us work harder for less. Why they just get easy money. They can make it, they can give it away to make more. That's why housing prices go up. That's why inflation goes up. That's why food costs more, even though our wages haven't risen since the 70s. That's why inflation's been going up probably since, I would guess, quantitative easing, which is they just typed a whole bunch of zeros into the computer, had all this money to give out to the banks so they could lend it to us with a fractional reserve system, which states basically they only need to have 10% of that reserve, and they for what 100% of what they lend, so they can lend 10 times what they 10 times what they have. But it's even worse, because then that money comes back and they lend 10 times that. It's compounding. So it's hard. My mind can't wrap around what the actual number is. But anyways, they say more or less 10 times. And that's fine if I'm wrong. It's a lot. They lend a lot more than they have. And it's a fucking Ponzi scheme. You know, wouldn't that be cool if you could do that? You had $10, but you could just lend out $100, and they could bring you they could bring you 90 back, and you lend out 900 now, and it just goes on and on, all over fucking $10. Now you got 9 million lent out, and you're getting interest on it. I mean, sign me up. I want some. And that's what it does. So same people behind that are behind the IMF and the World Bank, and they're just like, let's do that around the world. This shit work. But it's different because they do it at the point of the gun, and that's when the the CIA comes in. That's where their importance in the banking picture comes in. John Perkins doesn't talk about ever working for the CIA, but he's like, yeah, they came and visited me, and next thing you know, I'm in South America, supposed to be making bricks, but really, you know, subverting democracy or whatever. So the CIA comes in to, you know, they're really there just to convince you that it's the best thing to do to accept this loan. And that goes back to what I talk about, them having all the information. They could. I only talk about blackmail. That's like the softer thing. I mean, you know, businessmen do illegal shit. Who knows? I mean, well, they would have it all. So they could come and they can set, you know, they have like the Nikita type female spies that could seduce you. I mean, there's they have a whole bunch of ways on how they could influence this leader. Some leaders just can't do it. Like maybe Ralph Nader, he might have been a leader that wouldn't have been able to be blackmailed like that because he had been careful for a long time. When one of the companies he was going against, they tried to hire 2 girls to seduce him, and he found out, and he was like super paranoid after that. So maybe besides him, but most you know, guys like him. So most leaders, they can convince them to do it that way, but then there's another way. They can threaten them. You can say do it, or you're going to end up like Trujillo's, you know, people in Chile and Arbenz. You can die in a plane crash or whatever, or you can die of a heart attack, or you can die of cancer. You know, your ass gonna die if we get a hold of you, basically. Or you can just accept what we're offering, this big ass loan to your country. Fine print, American corporations come in and build things like dams that, you know, now people can't fish the waters. So the oil companies can come in, they're polluting the air. There's all these leaks that happen all the time. The water's polluted. It's not like America where it gets cleaned up. It just stay dirty. And now these people can't fish, can't live as they lived off the land for generations. And then we look at them and say, look at those fucking poor people. Look how fucking disgusting they are. How backward they are. And it's progress if we give them a sweatshop. That's progress, because look what they had before. You know, the whole context of the story is just removed, and all you think is like, these people are inferior. But it's like, no, they had a solid way of life where their citizens were happy. Their tribe, the members of their tribe were happy, and ours aren't. The majority of people in America ain't that happy. So how could we ever say that we are better than another tribe? We're better because we could get to this car to 100 miles later. We get in a car and go 100 miles in 100 minutes. So is that even practical? You're sitting in traffic. I mean, just, I don't know. It's about happiness. Unfortunately, because our morals, they became those of our leaders, kind of, we think power is great. Rome is great, you know, as they fucking raped women with baboons. Sorry for cussing, and just giving it how it is. Raping little girls, killing people, having their guts torn out. Like, whoever glorifies that is obviously ignorant or a fucking psychopath. Or just someone that has some issues, whether they're their fault or not. So, it's not progress to give them a sweatshop. It's not progress to give them a sweatshop. It didn't make them happier, because we can't take that sweatshop in a vacuum. We have to look at the IMF, the World Bank, those loans that have enslaved South America, enslaved basically the world, came to be the CIA under Truman. And for whatever it's worth, I don't know that much about it, but Truman was like a simple-minded fucking dullard with a sissy man complex. And it was actually supposed to be Henry Wallace that should have been Roosevelt's vice president, but he was too good. He was too much of a people's person. he was too uncorruptible, and so the party bosses worked to get this fucking, excuse my language, this, you know, this simple-minded idiot in there that was talked into using the atomic weapon. Like, Wallace would have never done that. Because if you look at the history, Japan was already trying to surrender. They just wanted to keep their emperor because that was a religious figure to them. They ended up being able to do that anyways. But we demanded unconditional surrender. You know, like, they did not want to fight anymore. They said, we're done. We're done, sorry. And they were trying to get good terms with whoever, Russia or America. But the thing was, they were afraid of the Russians. They said, look at what Russians did to their own Tsar, their own Caesar, their own emperor. They murked them. They murked the whole family. They killed the whole family. So they were afraid of the communist invasion. And so they were actually wanting to surrender to us. And once Russia started invading their islands, some of which I believe they still have today, they were like, oh, hell no. That's what they were afraid of. As for the Hiroshima, yeah, their city was decimated, but cities had been decimated prior to that, firebombed. So however many bombs it came from, their cities were still getting decimated. We were still bombing civilians just as we did in Germany, still committing those war crimes. But so that's who created the CIA, and he later regretted it. For whatever it's worth, that might be like a digression, but I mean, the CIA is like, are some of the, in my opinion, the heavy hitters of the deep state, you know, along with the military-industrial complex. And the CIA are like the top dogs, and, you know, now the NSA gathers all the information, but all those other intelligence agencies are like not what the CIA is. You know, the CIA was most likely complicit in the assassination of JFK. And they're all connected to bankers. Just, you know, look at George Bush. His whatever grandpa, Herbert Walker Bush, was a banker that helped fund the Nazis. And he was head of the CIA for a while. So, I mean, they're connected. So that's what I know about the origins of the deep state. And they operate black budgets. Everything's off the books. Doesn't get talked about. You know, trillions coming missing from the Pentagon. Who knows how much of that goes towards the shadow government? What do they do with it? I have no clue, besides build underground cities so they're protected when we all go to hell. You know, trillions going into war. If we put trillions in infrastructure, there'd be no, or just into the people, there would be zero homelessness. Everybody would live in a nice home. But instead we have war. We have the F-35. Every homeless person could have a nice home. They could have bailed everybody out of the 2008 housing crisis and avoided all the subsequent homelessness. But instead we have an F-35, which is like an outdated ego boost. Like, who needs a piloted aircraft these days? Why would you want a biological organism which is way more susceptible to things like G-forces than a computer is? Why would you want that piloting in real time when you could just have everything automated? Just question. But, well, I think that about sums it up for today. I hope everyone has a fabulous day. Please comment. If you liked it, like it. If you're annoyed that I made a mistake, I'm completely sorry. I don't know what I was thinking yesterday. I'm going to blame it on the smog. It's smoggy as hell today. And they've come out with studies recently that say smog is like detrimental to the IQ. Plus, again, they don't test for the nanoparticles. And the smaller the particle of the metal, the more oxidative it is on the brain. And the more likely it is to be able to pass, or it does pass, a blood-brain barrier. Especially in babies. Anyways, hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care.